States are seeking sweeping flight bans to stop Omicron spread. Maharashtra is seeking grounding of all flights from at-risk nations. It has also issued strict guidelines for travelers from hotspot countries that include mandatory 7-day institutional quarantine, RT-PCR tests on 2nd, 4th and 7th day from arrival to hospitalization of all positive flyers, 7-day home quarantine for negative ones. Passengers from other countries will also have to undergo compulsory RT-PCR tests at the airport. While all positive flyers will be hospitalized, others will have to undergo 14-day home quarantine. For interstate flyers, full vaccination or RT-PCR tests within 48 hours is a must, whereas for interstate flyers, negative RT-PCR is a must within 48 hours. Delhi government has sought a ban on all international flights. It's also implemented guidelines issued by centre, including negative RT-PCR before departure from at-risk nation. A second RT-PCR on arrival is a must in India. Genome sequencing is going to happen for all the positive cases. Mandatory 7-day quarantine for all the flyers and a third test for symptom after 7 days. Viewers, this is a little complicated, but we've broken this down for you as much as possible. After arriving in Delhi, the boarding passes of the passengers are now being stamped with a message saying self-monitoring of health for 10 days. Many of you are confused right now in terms of what the guidelines really look like. Let's simplify that. We've got you covered. So here's the good news that we've got you all the guidelines as they stand at the moment. So if you're coming to Delhi from a high-risk nation, then there is going to be a testing on arrival at the IGI airport in Delhi. If you're negative, there's going to be quarantine and retest after 7 days. And if negative again, self-monitor for 7 more days. We don't know the nature of this virus and hence it's a little complicated this time around. If you're found positive, quarantine at a designated hospital. So this is going to be institutional in nature. The sample is also going to be tested for genome sequencing if you are found to be positive for COVID. Those below 5, that is 5 years old, the kids are exempted from the testing, but the symptomatic children are going to be tested. So if you're landing into Delhi, these are the guidelines that you need to follow. Let's now take a look at some ground reports coming in from Delhi and Mumbai.
International travel once again is set to become longer. And the reason is because the government has now made a list of at-risk countries, which includes the United Kingdom. All those people who are arriving, say, at the Delhi airport from these at-risk countries, they will have to get the mandatory RT-PCR test done. Now, there's a separate room in the airport which has been made where all the passengers coming will be asked to sit. The test will be done and they'll have to wait till the time the result does not come. Now, typically, the result takes anywhere between 5 to 6 hours, which means that your flight will take you longer to come out of the airport. Now, once the test results are out, it could either be negative or positive. If the result is positive, then you will be isolated and your sequence, your test, your sample will then be sent for the genome sequencing. In case the result is negative, then you will be asked to leave, but the state officials will make sure that they do a retest on the 8th day and you will be asked to do a home quarantine for 7 days. This basically means that the number of hours which you will be spending between the flight and at the airport will increase drastically. Say, for example, if you're coming from the United Kingdom and you take a direct flight, which is roughly 9 hours, then you will have to spend additional 6 hours sitting at the airport waiting for the test result. Now, the government thinks this is one of the safest and the surest way of making sure that the new COVID variant does not spread in the country. This is Aishwarya Paliwal reporting for India Today with camera person Ashwini Helen.
I'm at the Mumbai airport right now, and this is where the entire precautions that have been put in by the Mumbai International Airport can be really seen, wherein people who are coming in from the high-risk countries like UK, like New Zealand, all these people are being segregated. They are being from the people who are traveling from non-risk countries. Right here, for the people who are traveling from high-risk countries, there have added precautions like they have been asked to take care, not to really mingle with others. Also, heavy testing. There are more than 50 booths that have been put up where RT-PCR tests are being done. Apart from that, there's a waiting lounge for people to wait in where, if the testing really takes a while, they'll be asked to wait. Also, for people who have connecting flights, if they are in transit, then for them also antigen tests have been put in place. So heavy testing right here at the airport itself is being done to make sure that the spread of Omicron strain that has really now been the issue of concern right now does not really spread further. With cameraman Vijay Desai in Mumbai, Vidya for India Today.
As the new COVID variant Omicron spread across countries, the lower house of the Parliament Lok Sabha is likely to discuss it today. The mutated variant of COVID-19 is going to be discussed in the Lok Sabha under the rule of 193. Discussion under 193 does not involve a formal motion before the House. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia is likely to brief the Parliament on the mutated variant and the measures that are being taken by the government to prevent the transmission. The discussion is likely to take place at about 2 p.m. in Lok Sabha. More than 19 countries have reported cases of Omicron. As of now, no cases reported in India.
कि ओमिक्रॉन वेरिएंट अभी दुनिया के 14 कंट्री में पाया गया है और यहाँ उसका अभ्यास हो रहा है। इंडिया में अभी उसका कोई केस रिपोर्ट नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन दुनिया में जिस तरह से इस वायरस के संदर्भ में हमें सूचना मिली उसको देखते हुए एक एडवाइजरी भी डिक्लेयर की गई है। पोर्ट पर हमने भी देखरेख रखना शुरू कर दिया है। कोई भी ऐसे संदिग्ध केस है तो उसको तुरंत ही चेक करके उसको जीनोमिक सीक्वेंसेस भी करा रहे हैं। कोविड क्राइसिस के दरमियान हमने बहुत कुछ सीखा है। आज हमारे पास बहुत कुछ संसाधन भी अवेलेबल है, सारी लेबोरेटरी भी अवेलेबल है। कोई भी कैसी भी स्थिति को हम देख सकते हैं।
Here is a report on all that we know about Omicron and how it has got the world's attention.
The overall global risk related to the new variant of concern, Omicron, is assessed as very high, says the World Health Organization in its newly released technical paper titled Enhancing Readiness for Omicron. The WHO has identified the fifth variant of concern and it has sent everyone on a tizzy. There is alarm and panic. So with this bolt from the blue, are we back to square one in our fight against COVID-19? Here's what we know about the new variant, Omicron. B.1.1.529 Omicron was first detected in South Africa. It could have originated anywhere, but South Africa, it was detected here first. Scientists say the new variant of concern, the fifth one, carries a high number of mutations in its spike protein. In the new variant, there were 50 mutations overall, with more than 30 on the spike protein.
It's that no region, no country, no community and no individual is safe until we are all safe. Emergence of the highly mutated Omicron variant underlines just how perilous and precarious our situation is.
So will the vaccines protect against it, and is it more transmissible?
It is a variant of concern and it has spread very rapidly. We need much more clinical information on the severity of illness, much more clinical information on when it infects a vaccinated person, what it does, how severe is the breakthrough infection.
But where did it really come from? A theory suggests that the new variant is likely to have evolved during a chronic infection of an immunocompromised person. Right now, it has been seen in more than a dozen countries like the Netherlands, Israel, the UK, Canada, Denmark, Australia, Belgium, Botswana, Britain, Denmark, Germany, Hong Kong, Italy, France, and South Africa, where it was first detected. Is the new variant more lethal? The World Health Organization has called for caution in the initial stages of dealing with this variant, saying they don't know yet if it is more lethal, but certainly it can cause reinfections. It can also cause community transmission or clusters. Preliminary information suggests an increased risk of reinfection with this variant. Researchers are still looking into the data on deaths caused by the variant.
We're going to have data on at least a couple hundred more sequencing in the next few days. And I think the clinical information will come in the next week to 2 weeks, after which we will be able to interpret this information.
Will the Omicron variant dodge immunity provided by vaccines then? Scientists are researching on how effective existing vaccines might be against this heavily mutated variant. The WHO has said there is little information just yet on this matter. Breakthrough infections have been reported in South Africa among people who have received the Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer-BioNTech and Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccines. No deaths have been recorded as of yet. The 2 travelers in Hong Kong who tested positive were vaccinated with the Pfizer jab. What are the other variants of concern then? The WHO, remember, has designated 4 variants up until now, namely Alpha, Beta, Gamma and Delta. The WHO added variant Omicron as the 5th designated variant on the 26th of November. It is called the variation B.1.1.529, a variant of concern. How is India then reacting to it? India has yet to take this extreme step of a travel ban on South Africa or any other countries that have reported the Omicron variant, but has kept this option open. It has started to screen passengers coming from high-risk countries reporting this variant and has said that it is going to be collecting samples of COVID-19 positive patients from these countries and send them for genomic sequencing. Several countries have announced travel bans while others are tightening border controls in what feels like a never-ending battle against coronavirus.
Let's now listen into what WHO chief said on the new variant.
We shouldn't need another wake-up call. We should all be wide awake to the threat of this virus. But Omicron's very emergence is another reminder that although many of us might think we're done with COVID-19, it's not done with us. We're living through a cycle of panic and neglect. Hard-won gains could vanish in an instant. Our most immediate task, therefore, is to end this pandemic.
WHO has warned that Omicron coronavirus variant poses a high risk of infection surges around the globe. The variant could lead to severe consequences in some regions. At least 19 countries have registered cases. Here is our ground report from South Africa, where the virus was first detected.
Omicron has spooked the world. The super mutant is spreading fast. At least 19 countries have registered Omicron cases. The fast spread of the virus has prompted many nations to shut their borders to visitors from high-risk countries, including South Africa. Omicron, a coronavirus variant with around 50 mutations, was first found in Gauteng province of South Africa. Today, the city of Tshwane in Gauteng, just 85 kilometers away from the South African capital city of Johannesburg, accounts for more than half of the country's infections. India today visited Johannesburg to get the real picture on the ground.
This is OR Tambo International Airport. And as we can see, well, there's not many people that are leaving at this very moment, as a lot of them were of course departing, you know, on Saturday and Sunday. But this is just a drive-through through the airport here at OR Tambo, and it's quite clear that sooner or later we are going to be seeing more people, of course, leaving to go home after the Omicron variant was discovered here in South Africa.
While a sense of normalcy still persists on the streets, there is an underlying fear of the situation getting worse.
This is Voortrekker Street, one of the main economic streets here of this part of Johannesburg, and it's quite clear that it is very busy at this moment. But what a lot of people are going to be worried about and questioning is whether this will change, whether this will be very quiet, whether this will be less than what we see right now, if the COVID-19 cases continues to rise.
The Omicron surge is a big concern for the migrant population, away from home in search of a better standard of living.
जब से कोविड का अनाउंस हुआ है, जब से बिजनेस डाउन से डाउन होता जा रहा है और बिजनेस में कोई इम्प्रूवमेंट नहीं है, कस्टमर स्कैर्ड हैं और यहाँ हम सरवाइव नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। अब हम ये सोच रहे हैं अब हमें क्या करना है, किस तरीके से हम अपनी फैमिली को सरवाइव करेंगे। लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं यहाँ पर।
South Africa witnessed panic buying when the last lockdown hit the country. Now supermarkets have restocked in case President Cyril Ramaphosa announces another lockdown.
The people might come more and buy some more fruit and veg to boost their immune system. We'll have to wait and see what happens. That did happen in the other times. The people came and they did a bit of buying extra. People aren't panic buying anymore and that type of thing. But let's see. It should affect it, but not really anymore.
I'm standing here at Netcare Lakeview Hospital here in the eastern part of Johannesburg. The hospital has said off the record that they are very prepared for the Omicron variant, which is going to start taking effect in the next few weeks. So the question we have to ask ourselves is government, are the private hospitals like this over here prepared for the variant, and are they ready to go ahead and deal with the influx of patients that are going to come? Well, that's all we have for you here. My name is Faraz Patel. I'm reporting from Johannesburg, South Africa for India Today.
The discovery of Omicron has caused global alarm. Omicron coronavirus variant could be the most likely candidate to displace the highly contagious Delta variant, according to the South African experts. Here's a report.
The Omicron coronavirus variant detected in southern Africa could be the most likely candidate to displace the highly contagious Delta variant. That's according to Adrian Purin, the acting executive director of South Africa's National Institute of Communicable Diseases, or NICD. He spoke to Reuters on Tuesday.
We thought, what will outcompete Delta? I think that's always been the question. What will outcompete Delta, in terms of transmissibility, at least?
The discovery of Omicron has caused global alarm, with countries limiting travel from southern Africa for fear it could spread quickly, even in vaccinated populations, and the World Health Organization saying it carries a high risk of infection. If Omicron proves to be more transmissible than the Delta variant, it could lead to a sharp spike in infections that could put pressure on hospitals. Purin said scientists should know within 4 weeks to what extent Omicron can evade the immunity generated by vaccines or prior infection, and whether it leads to worse clinical symptoms than other variants. Anecdotal accounts by doctors who have treated South African COVID-19 patients say Omicron appears to be producing mild symptoms, including a dry cough, fever, and night sweats, but experts have cautioned against drawing firm conclusions. Purin said it was too early to say whether Omicron was displacing Delta in South Africa. Anne von Gottberg, a clinical microbiologist at the NICD, said it looked like infections were rising throughout the country, but cautioned against linking that with Omicron just yet.
In fact, and some of those admissions might have started before we think the emergence of Omicron, and we also seen that there was an increase in influenza cases in South Africa just in the last month or so. And so we need to really be careful to look at the other respiratory infections and other respiratory diseases.
We are deeply disappointed.
Leaders in South Africa have criticized swift travel restrictions by the United States and other nations as unfair and crippling to their tourism and other sectors. South Africa has reported close to 3 million COVID-19 infections during the pandemic and over 89,000 deaths, the most on the African continent.